if I just talk to the microphone? We're just doing a sound check right now. Everyone can continue talking. Is it good?
Ready?
We're good.
Okay. I don't know. All right. Welcome to the December 10th, 2025 North Logan City Council meeting. We will excuse Kenny tonight, and we will not excuse Joni and Emily. We don't know where they are. So we will go as far as we can without a quorum and welcome them when they come. We will start tonight with a pledge by Buzzy, after which Mark will say our opening prayer.
Will the audience please rise and repeat after me?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father in heaven, we are grateful to gather as a community in celebration of these young men and women and for their talents, for their sacrifice, for their determination. We ask thy blessing upon each of them, that they will cherish these friendships and these memories, that it will be a strength to them as they do many great things throughout their years. We're thankful for their parents, for the school, for their teachers, for coaches, and for their examples to us. We pray that as we continue to serve our neighbors and one another, that we'll have the determination that they have shown. We're thankful for our blessings of this valley, for those that watch over it, and say this in Jesus' name, amen.
Thanks, Mark. All right, I would entertain a motion to adopt tonight's agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Emily, coming in hot. Do I have a second? Second
gotta be
by
faster.
Buzzy. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we were racking our brains trying to figure out how we could fill this room with an audience. So just so you know in advance, this is a required meeting. You must stay from start to finish once you're here.
10 p.m.
And no cell phones.
No cell phones till 10 p.m.
Thank you so much for coming, really. This is such an honor to have the Green Canyon High School Band. We are so proud of you. You make us look good. And so thank you for coming tonight. I am going to have Buzzy read this proclamation as a proud father of a band member. So Buzzy, if you wouldn't mind, we'll read that.
This is pretty cool. This has never happened where the mayor's let somebody else read a proclamation. So I love the band even more tonight than I already did. Whereas the North Logan City Council takes great pride in celebrating the achievements of our local youth and fostering a spirit of community, and whereas the Green Canyon High School Marching Band has demonstrated exceptional skill, dedication, and talent throughout the season, and whereas through their hard work, unity, and determination, the band has achieved the remarkable honor of winning the state band championship for the 9th year in a row. Yeah. And whereas this accomplishment reflects not only the talent of the band members, but also the commitment of their directors, parents, families, and the entire Green Canyon High School community. And whereas the success of the marching band serves as an inspiration to all students in our community, encouraging them to pursue excellence in their own endeavors, now therefore I, on behalf of Mayor Lindsay Peterson and of the City of North Logan, do hereby proclaim our heartfelt congratulations to the Green Canyon High School Marching Band for their outstanding achievement in winning the state band championship. We commend their hard work and dedication and encourage them to continue striving for greatness in all their future pursuits.
All right, join me in a hand of applause for the band. Okay, as crazy it may seem, we are going to try and get a picture. So if you would come up in front of the dais and we will have Alan take a picture of us all.
Do we need to put some people behind?
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
Come back here. Should we have
The tallest one's back here?
let's see how well this goes.
See if we can get them all in. Oh my goodness, look at that. That's a lot. It's the Green Canyon.
You guys want to?
Pardon?
We stand back.
We'll come, can we do layers or do we bring them back here?
You're never
I
gonna
think
get
the
all of
kids go back
Yeah.
there, and then council come down here with
Okay,
us.
okay.
But the tall ones probably will be fine.
Hey, would half of you all be willing to go behind? You can talk to
This is good.
You can find it. Look, Alan's on a chair.
Good to see you.
Here. Get really close to it so it looks like you're more in the group. There you go.
Easy. Congrats, you guys. Well done.
Have you read it? It was pretty good. Thank you.
Okay. I was joking. You guys are welcome to take this party elsewhere. Thank you so much for coming. They believed me. Did you see that? They believed. Okay, we'll move on to the next party, which is the swearing in of two North Park police officers. So if we could have Meg Bartlett come up to the front. Actually, I think should we do them both at the same time? Okay, let's do both Meg and Officer Walker as well. And we'll come over by the flag. Okay, not everything can be a party. Now we would like to recognize our outgoing city council member, Joni Karchner. Joni, I'll just take a moment to just say that it's meant a lot to serve with you, and Joni's made such an impact on the council, and she is always our reminder to listen and to make sure that people feel like they're heard, and to maybe just think twice about the humanity of the people that we're dealing with. And I think that's so important when you get in the business of city leadership, to make sure that we don't lose sight of the people that we're serving. So Joni, it's been a pleasure to serve with you, and if you'd just join me in giving Joni a hand of applause. and we'll probably, I think we should do a picture with all of us. So we have this plaque. Well,
Sorry.
this is from the city. And you have to keep serving. So you guys, if you'll come stand with me, should we do it in the corner? You're good with your phone? Okay, let's go in this corner. Let's go in this corner where it's just kind of like. Yeah, relax. Okay, now we will recognize our exemplary staff member. And tonight we will be recognizing Noah Jensen from the library. Noah Jensen has been a key employee throughout our entire library move planning process. There hasn't been a single part of this project that he hasn't stepped into with full energy and a problem solver's mindset. Whether he's calculating how much space our folding chairs and tables will need, mapping out how to fit shelves into a much smaller temporary location, or catching details of the rest of us might have missed, Noah has been at the center of making this move possible. What makes Noah stand out even more is his self-driven attitude. He doesn't wait to be asked. He sees what needs to happen and jumps right in. He helps everyone, works hard, and does it all with a great attitude. His planning, creativity, and willingness to tackle anything have made a huge difference for the entire team and for the community we serve. I'll just add that this is such a huge lift for our library right now to try and provide service even while we're in the midst of moving into the community center and renovating the library. So we're so appreciative to our staff who are making this possible. So join me in giving a hand to Noah Jensen. All right, let's move on to reports from our public safety officials. So Chief Goodrich. On? I don't think so.
There we go. All right, I can be taught. So let's start first with kind of a review of one of the biggest events that we've had this last week, and we've planned for the entire year, our Shop with the Cop event. I put together just a real quick slide presentation to show some of the pictures and things that happened with that. First off, leading up to the event, we had a lot of publicity this year. We had Cache Valley Magazine that wanted to do an article on it, and so I got to be on the cover, which means I owe donuts, I guess, to people. But that's the standing rule. If you make the paper, you have to buy donuts. So they covered it really well, and they started a lot of interest. And so we started to get donations from all across the county, outside of the county on that. And we ended up this year being able to help 40 kids. We had more officers this year than we did last year again. If you'll go to some of the pictures here, it starts with the breakfast in the morning. This year also we partnered with Logan Regional Hospital for the first time. They allowed us to use their helipad, and so Santa was able to be brought in by helicopter this year. It's the first time that that's happened since I can remember it being held here. So we had, again, just lots of people. The upper right-hand picture is the picture of the staff at Logan Regional that helped us with that and wanted to be a part of that. After Santa landed, Then we led the procession down 1400 North to Main Street and into Walmart, and managed to get a picture real quick with everybody up front. After the kids shopped, they had an opportunity to have the presents gift wrap and then go meet Santa down the bottom. In addition, this year we also had a food basket that we gave the 40 different families there, which was pretty cool to be able to help with that. And we got donations again from the local businesses throughout the county that provided that on that. So a huge success. Our officers represented as well, and it was a great effort from all of law enforcement in the entire community and outside of it. So wanted to highlight that. This was a lot of work and a lot of effort that went into this. So Joni was also there, the top right picture. She came for that and helped with that. And I'm not sure who else was there. I was busy in the back with Santa, but
Emily, me,
fantastic.
and Emily's daughter.
I think you mean Mark. I don't.
Oh,
I remember Mark.
and Mark.
Was
Kenny
Kenny?
wasn't.
I was going to say I don't
Mark
remember
and
seeing
I
Kenny.
hung out for a long time. Sorry, Mark. It really was.
Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you for
No,
coming.
really, thanks.
it was
Mark.
great.
It was a fantastic event. So a lot of good memories there.
I'm losing my mind.
Thank
Really, can I just interject that the North Park Police, you guys lead the way throughout the valley. Like this has become just completely coordinated by you guys, and so we just you make us look good. This is such an important cause, and we just really appreciate you undertaking it. And please extend that to Sherry and Rebecca and your staff because I know how much work goes into it.
Well, absolutely. Thank you. We're pleased to do it. It is humbling. It's very humbling to be part of it. So thank you. And lastly, I wanted to highlight just some stats from November um, compared to last year. We've had a pretty crazy month, actually, between that and preparation. So we had 448 calls of service during the month of November. 164 of those were priority one type calls. And you can see in the pie chart the calls that we were taking: sex offenses, the thefts. The majority of those broke down to two things: accidents and medicals. With the medicals, we had 62 medicals that we handled. 4 of those ended up turning echo or fatal. We ended up spending quite a bit more time on those 4 alone on that. So you could tell just by looking at it's been a busy month. In addition to that, as you look at 2024 versus 2025, we're up 61 more calls this year than what we were last year. So it equates to about a 1% increase, just over a 1% increase. So our guys are still doing good things. They're still out making traffic stops, but we are seeing a lot of the high priority, the time involved, time intensive type calls that our guys are taking. So just kind of wanted to do a snapshot for November and show you what we were working with. So, any questions that you might have?
Thank you, Chief.
All right, thank you.
And then we will excuse Chief Thompson, who had an emergency come up. All right, Alan, can you kind of go over our strategic directives and action items?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Going down through these items, the first item is really the community center. The designs we still are working on for the exterior of the building. As I mentioned, Noah, the entire city staff has been helping just in the transition. And just as a thank you to all of the staff. So the library coordinated this and put it all together. They were there helping. But then the public works staff came over, office staff came over, and helped really in a very large effort to create a temporary space for the books, which will help the library remain operational in some capacity for several months. That's very unique. Normally when you see a renovation, the library shuts down, but they will still remain operational at some level. And then they'll transition back into having more programming over the next several months. So thank you to all the staff. That was incredible to see them all come together and help in such a large undertaking. Jumping down through, yes, we still are working with the tax commission on some of the zip code issues, the taxation, so it's coming to the right entity. Vicky's been working very heavily on that. We've been reaching out to them constantly. They're working through some items. We'll just put it that way right now. Master site and wayfinding, we'll talk about that tonight. Jumping down through water, Jordan will go over this at the end of the meeting, but just in general, the 4 million gallon tank, they poured a quarter of it. They'll probably get ready to pour other remaining items on that. Sewer, we are still working on the sewer master plan, but then they'll start doing some of their annual monitoring for infiltration, which is great to look at those types of things because that gives us the most bang for our buck for reducing fees by reducing the amount of water getting into our sewer system. And Zach's done a great job at reducing that the past several years, and that's shown in our annual report how much he does help reduce that amount through his efforts. The streets, they're literally plowing, even though it doesn't look like it because we haven't had a lot of snow, but they've plowed. And then they literally have to just start repairing plow trucks after each plowing. And so they've been doing that. Then also helping transition with the library and all the other things they're working on. Jumping down through stormwater, they are working on the master plan right now, which will come in for the council in the next few months. Engineering, 1200 East, they put in the culvert. It finally arrived. It's a box culvert, fancy way for saying a giant concrete bridge-ish. And then they'll pave over that because of the favorable temperatures. We really lucked out. Jordan's been coordinating that for later this week, which will be great to see that up and running before winter sets in. Jumping down through parks, they're working on several different items, especially in Elkridge North. You've seen that where they're taking down the pavilion. They'll put in the other one. That's a RAPS project. Trails.
Alan, just real quick, do you know the timeline on the pavilion?
What's the timeline on the pavilion installation? End of
Oh,
February
That's awesome.
is the installation. They're pouring the footing and foundation in the next couple of weeks, which will be great. The trails. So we teamed up. North Logan was putting in their portion of the VST. Hyde Park was putting in their portion. And then we teamed up with North Logan, Hyde Park, Smithfield, and the county. And we have received another grant associated with that. And that will push forward the remaining portions into Smithfield. So we received our portion of the grant. And so we'll start working on that. We've been meeting with property owners, and we'll finalize that hopefully this winter so that we can start working when the weather's more favorable. That's fantastic. It's in excess of several $1 million of the grants that we've received for that grant, for that trail, to put that in. Recreation, endless things that they're working on as far as events. We'll go over those at the end of the meeting. Let's jump down through cemetery. They are working on the shed up there. And then I'll announce this at the end of the meeting, but the Wreaths Across America, this is the first year. We've done wreaths for about 4 or 5 years in North Logan City. We were the only city doing that, but now Wreaths Across America is teaming up with North Logan, and they'll come in and we'll do an actual program this Saturday at 10 and then place the wreaths on the veterans' graves over the holidays. We'll go over that at the end of the meeting, though, the details. Community development, obviously, city center master development agreement. We're working on that, working with property owners. And we'll go over the signage and master wayfinding plan and some text amendments this evening that Scott's been working on pretty extensively with our code enforcement team. Going over this, I'll jump down through several items that we're working on. Maddie has started with the city, and she's doing a fantastic job in our HR department. Karen's been training her, providing extensive training, we'll put it that way, trying to convey all the different items regarding payroll and HR for so many years. The audit we'll go over tonight. Won't still any fire. Library we've gone over, police. And then just a couple updates. Fire, they are sending in all of the information that we've passed regarding the HP 48 and our WUI line. We're kind of ahead of the curve on that, but that's been fantastic having Chief Thompson kind of spearhead that so that we're ready for those items to help steer the state in the right direction regarding that. I went over several things pretty quickly. Are there any other questions regarding any action items or any updates in particular? The zip code is something the mayor was reaching out to on. I don't know if any information
No,
back.
I think it's going to be a slow go. So, but I'll let you know if and when.
But great question. Keep pushing us on that because we have to push the tax commission pretty hard regarding just the tax portion. The zip code is something we'll have to push through Blake Moore's office, and he's been helpful in the past.
Okay. All right, thanks, Alan. All right, let's move on to our public hearing to receive public input on a proposed resolution to amend various fees within the North Logan master fee schedule, particularly related to solid waste collection fees. The city council may consider adopting the resolution following the public hearing. So just maybe I can give the background on this. Our contract with Waste Management includes a automatic contractual increase that follows the CPI, the Consumer Price Index. Particularly, there's a solid waste, garbage. Anyway, there's a CPI that's specific to solid waste. And so we just follow that nationally set percentage. This year that was 5%. And so each year we have to update our fee schedule to reflect that. Just as a point of, just so everyone knows, when we were considering the bids for this, they were all, like all of the contracts, the proposed contracts, except one, had this fee increase built into it. The one that didn't was a cost plus fee arrangement that all of us in the cash waste consortium were concerned about. So just so you know, this is just kind of part of doing business, and particularly in this climate of, the economy being all over the place. So I will open it up for a public hearing unless there's something to add, Alan.
Just one other thing to point out, when the mayor, the other mayors, when they were going out and looking at these different providers, obviously there's pros and cons to each provider that comes across the board, but we do need to point out that this provider for solid waste within the consortium is one of the only providers that did not have a fuel surcharge as well. So there was a fuel surcharge for several of the different applicants regarding that, where if fuel prices increased, it was in addition to the CPI. So there could have been substantial other increases to the cost had we gone with one of the other firms.
Yeah, okay, thank you. All right, I will open up the public hearing on this matter, and I will read the rules for public hearings. Before you begin, state your name for the record, speak into the microphone so your comments can be recorded. Limit your statements to 3 minutes. You cannot combine or bank minutes to speak on behalf of others. Phrase your opinions in the form of statements, not questions. Address your comments to the city council, not the public. In the future, note if you have questions or need to discuss an issue, you may meet with the city council members or city staff member before the public hearing where dialogue can take place. You may provide a written statement as your input for a hearing. You may read your entire statement or summarize it. The 3-minute limit still applies. You may provide a copy of the written statement to the city recorder. He will make copies for the council, and the written statement will become part of the public record, but will not be included in the minutes of the meeting. So with that, we'll open up the public hearing. Yeah, just come to the microphone. And then just tell us your name. Okay. Okay, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh,
Uh,
Lee, it doesn't sound like your mic is on, and we want to make sure people online can hear, so.
Okay,
There we go.
I can see green now. Can you hear me now?
We
Yeah.
heard you before, but that's probably better for
All
them.
right, guess what? I really don't mind, nor does my wife, paying for goods and services that are needed, and that being an increase also. So I don't have a problem with that increase in fees. But I think we need to renegotiate the times in the year that that green can is picked up. Now, I live in a mature neighborhood, not only the people, but the trees. Okay, we don't own a brand new home that doesn't have a tree one. So we're looking for this green can. I don't have trailers and the opportunities to haul a lot of stuff. So we look for that green can. We look for it until the leaves are down, until the limbs are picked up. and sawed up and moved out. So what I would ask is that you renegotiate the Green Can and get it into December. Right now, I'm cutting branches, I'm cutting limbs. I mowed just the other day. Last one to get the leaves up. So yeah, we need it, okay? Don't mind paying for it a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee.
Thanks, Lee. It might turn off on its own anyway, apparently, so.
All right, thank you. That is something that comes up repeatedly, so it's on my mind as well. Any other public comments? Okay, with that, then I will close the public hearing and we'll talk about this amongst the council.
I'm just grateful that you came and appreciate your comment too. That's really nice. It's good to keep that in mind. Normally we have snow this time of year, so this is a unique time. I think for me, I know how much work has gone into getting this provided for us. I know how much the mayor has worked on this as well in the previous year. So I'm sure that there's people out there that may be wondering what other options do we have and what are those services going to cost. So it would be nice to see that in comparison. But I do know how much work the city has done in making sure that we are providing these services for everybody. So that may be the only thing that I would say is there another comparison?
Okay. Thanks, Joni. Anyone else?
You should make the motion, your last
Yeah,
opportunity.
you want to do that?
Anyone else?
All right, I'd entertain a motion on this.
I make a motion that it's been a long time since I've been able to do this one.
Amend.
Amend the resolution or for various fees within North Logan master fee schedule, particularly related to solid waste collection fees.
Okay. Motion by Joni,
Second.
second by Buzzy. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, I skipped over our consent agenda. We have 3 things on that consent agenda. Approval of our November 5th City Council meeting and our November 18th Board of Canvasser meeting. We have the approval of the selection of MHTN to compose the master signage and wayfinding study. Emily can kind of second this, but that was a unanimous vote by that committee that interviewed all the firms. And then we have approval of the proposed mayor's newsletter message schedule. So I'm trying to even remember, we don't really even have discussion on this. So I would, unless there is discussion, which is absolutely fine, I would entertain a motion on this. Mark, motion by Mark.
A second.
Second by Joni. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. All right, let's jump back down to item number 3. Consider approving the recommendation from the City Selection Committee to appoint an engineering firm to act as the North Logan City engineer. Jordan, you want to speak to this?
Yeah. So at the beginning of December, we sent out a RFP for engineering services for North Logan City, and we received 4 bids back. And if you look through that, through the folder in the council folder, you can see the breakout and the evaluation form that we used as a staff to go through each of those. And we would recommend that we approve Sunrise Engineering as the new city engineer.
All right. Any questions for Jordan? Yeah,
thank
thanks
you.
for doing that. All right, I'd entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the recommendation from the City Selection Committee to appoint Sunrise Engineering as the engineering firm to act as the North Logan City engineer.
All right, motion by Emily,
Second.
second by Buzzy. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, let's move on to our annual audit report from Aura Jackson.
Do you want me to take those?
That is
Did you see
very
that?
wise.
I was tempted.
Buzzy, you were
It was a
little
long
too
drive.
eager to grab that.
That is very wise. That's why we retained you.
We
love numbers and we love finances, but watching all of the things that have happened today, I'm feeling like we're kind of a letdown. I mean, you've got the state championships, you've got people
You're
with
the first to
guns
bring us
everywhere.
food.
No, but we do have some good financial news for you. So I'm just going to go over some of the highlights. And oh, sorry, I'm Diana Cannell, and our firm is now Richie May. So you'll notice like the different covering. And this is Cody Bland. He's the audit manager. So we work with all of our staff to do the annual audit, and we really appreciate all the people here that make that possible. We work very heavily with Scott Bennett and Alan Luce, and a whole lot of other people go into helping us get all the documents that we need and all the testing that we do, and we really appreciate all the work that they do. So I'm just going to go over a couple highlights. Please ask questions if you have them. If you have questions later, call, email me. We're happy to answer questions any time of the year. So I'm going to start on page 17. This shows all of the funds in the city together. And so just as a very high level financial review, if you look at that, you ended up with total assets at the end of the year of a little over $76 million. Now that was an increase of about 5.4 million over last year. The biggest areas is your capital asset or fixed assets. Those went up $13 million. So some really great improvement. You'll notice that. You could see things going on with the community center as well. Your cash position did go down just as you're spending money on those, and it went down about $7.5 million. If you just turn over the page, this shows your liabilities and equity. Your liabilities in total only went up about $1.5 million, and which means your equity over the year went up $4 million. So trending in the right direction. Just to look at the revenues from both the governmental standpoint and your business type activity standpoint, if you turn to page 21, these are your governmental funds. It's your general fund, capital projects, library, RDA, your building as well. In total, your revenues over last year went down $130,000, so very consistent with last year. Your expenses, however, went up 4.4 million. Remember in this statement, and I'm on page 21, this one shows all of the capital outlay as expenditures, not as an increase to fixed assets. So you're seeing the community center, all of those expenses that are happening throughout the city are showing on here. So that would be expected to see your expenses going up. In your other section, you'll notice last year you had some debt proceeds that wasn't there this year. So that revenue went down. Overall, your net loss for the year in these funds was about 8 million, about a decrease of 10 million from last year. Now, that's not alarming given these types of funds. It means that you're using money that you had collected in previous years for the projects that were ongoing in this year. Now, if we look at your business type activities, those revenues we consider to be, well, we would expect to either be pretty consistent or trending up. And we can see that your revenue, and that's on page 29. And this is your water, sewer, and stormwater funds. These are ones where you charge fee for services, and they are expected to really be able to be self-sustaining. And so your revenues went up $320,000. Your expenses only went up $18,000. So net effect, your net income ended at the end of the year of $1.6 million, which was an increase of about $907,000 over last year. Couple areas I usually like to point out, just if you're, a late night financial statement reader and loving that. I always like you to look at like your long-term debt because you have a lot of activity in there, and that starts on page 44. And you can continue also to see your fixed assets. Oh, you'll see multiple pages. And I just want to clarify one thing too, which is kind of new. Remember last year, we kind of talked about financing leases, things that used to be operating, now they have to be shown on the financial statement. You'll notice you have a lot of those, and they're all listed individually on pages 45, 46, and 47. So those we show a right-of-use asset, and we also show the financing lease liability. And they can be from anything from vehicles to office rent to equipment leases, those type of things. Your capital assets are on page 56. There you can kind of see it's in a roll forward, so you can see how much you had in additions, what your depreciation expense was, and any deletions. So that is a very high level of your financial review for the year. Do you have any questions or do you want to talk about anything in more depth?
This is probably a really dumb question. And the only reason I'm asking is because I found it stuck out to me when I was reading through it the first time. In our, hold on, now I can't remember where it was. Oh, here it is. In our water revenue, we have, no, I can't find it again. There was $911 that was in other revenue. And I was just, it's such a weird number that I just figured I'd ask.
Oh,
What
because
was
it is 9/11. That's just coincidence.
that, and it's also like such a small number. I was surprised to see it as other. Alan, I am so sorry. I should have asked you this when we talked.
Well, it could be anything from like late fees or things that are just
Okay,
your regular
like
charges
that.
for services.
Thank you.
I don't know, Scott, if you know that off the top of your head. We can
It
find
was
out
such
for
a
you.
small dollar number.
What's
if
that? Oh,
makes
it's on
sense,
page 29.
Out to me that we're only getting $911 for like late fees. It just was like, wow, people are really paying on time. Like that.
Huh.
That's kind of always been fun.
We can look, I just don't know off the top of my
Oh,
head.
it's
And
totally fine. That was like I said, it mainly stuck out because it was so odd in comparison to all the other numbers.
I think what she's saying, Scott, is let's boost those up for next year.
Yeah, you better start getting people for the, no, I just, good on our citizens, good on whatever we're doing to make sure we're not charging people late fees, if that's what it is. That's, to me, a really good sign. But I was just curious. And then I did have one other question.
Yeah.
You had two findings. The finding that I was slightly confused by was the fraud risk assessment.
Mhm.
So do you mind explaining
You
what
bet.
the requirements are?
I was just about to go over the findings. So this is on page 77. Now, you are familiar with the fraud risk assessment. It's been going on for a few years from the state.
Yeah.
This year, they made a new, anytime you checked a yes on a box that you have or you are doing that, you had to provide the proof for it. Meaning the trainings that actual happened or the 40 hours of continuing education or the all the policies, written policies and procedures. If you couldn't provide every single one of those, there comes the finding. So this was, the new part was actually having to provide all of the backup to us instead of just providing the fraud risk assessment. And that, remember, the state auditor's compliance guide comes out like in May. Year end is June. So sometimes, you get very little notice on some of these new things that they put out, and this is one of them. So I think out of all the ones we did this year, only one did not get this finding. So it's not like, oh, we're the only one. No, this kind of caught a lot of people off guard. If they hadn't been saving all those documents throughout the year, then it was kind of a scramble to try to find everything. So that's what the fraud risk assessment finding is. You're doing it just this next year. Make sure we're maintaining all of that documentation. The next finding, the second one, oh, sorry. Oh, that is the only finding. So last year there was a finding on justice court, but that is the only finding for this year.
Perfect.
I have just one question, Diana, and for years I've been wanting to ask you this,
Oh,
whether
great.
it's the police commissioner here, but you guys, you bring these every year, and it feels like, I'm not trying to tout North Logan or the city staff, even though we need to, but it feels like there's just very minimal disruption. Everything seems to be going well, and I'm curious, I don't know how many other municipalities you do, but in somewhat serious tone, Alan tells us how well North Logan is ran, and I'm starting to believe him. And would that be a fair statement that in general we perform better in these type of assessments than others? Okay.
Objection leading.
Yeah, leading the witness,
I would
Diana.
say, Buzzy, I feel that we've come a long ways
Yeah.
with North Logan. And I think this predates your time here, but there was a time where we actually had quite a few findings every year. And to get down to, I mean, we've had years with no findings and one finding. I feel that really shows the progress and diligence that has been going on. So I feel that. And that goes to everyone who works in all the areas. I mean, we probably test 28 to 32 different areas in state compliance alone. And it's all these things like the fraud risk assessment, okay? Because you guys didn't have documentation, does that make me lose sleep? Like, oh, their finances are not. No. Off the record. No. I find it a ticky-tacky finding, but it is something the state wants us to do, and so we have to do it. My more concern is if you had financial findings.
Yeah.
And we have had in the past, but we haven't for a while, which is great.
Well, I guess
And I know he was able to provide some. I can't remember specifically which items weren't provided. I could go back and look.
Yeah, we didn't have a formal audit committee, which we've corrected.
Well, I just,
Alan, oh, sorry, go ahead.
no,
Debbie.
I
I was just going to ask Alan, how many your first year in your position? How many
I will
findings?
say Diana seems like sunshine today, but I will tell you this. 1 month after I started as city administrator, Diana slapped us with 19 audit findings.
I will say not physically
That's
slapped.
not Diana's
I-
fault.
You make
Yes.
it sound like I'm like
And they were-
actually hitting you.
They were
I
rough.
report what's there.
They weren't like, hey, correct this in 10 minutes, like the fraud risk portion, which we can easily correct and become fully compliant. There were things that we had to correct. But that really goes back to the people like Scott and Karen and our staff and Debbie correcting all those items and bringing them up to date. And so hats off to them, the whole staff, for getting us back to where Diana gleans our whole operations, a budget, and our public meetings. And when we have one like this is good news.
Yeah, I mean, the reason, honestly, there is a real reason why I ask is just for the city council in particular, right? One of our biggest responsibilities is main budget, approving. And it just feels like in my years here, to your point, Anna, we haven't had to really get that deep. And so I think having this every year just gives us that objective data that Alan shares with us regarding the staff and how well it's ran. So it's just nice.
It definitely was.
Yeah.
It's been a journey.
If we can do it
And
2
I
more years at
remember-
least, that would be ideal. 2 more years at least. That would be ideal.
Oh no,
More for
keep
you.
it going all the way. Please don't feel like we can slack off. But it has been very encouraging to
Thank
see
you.
that progress.
Yeah, thanks for answering those questions.
All right. Thank you so much. Any other questions for?
Just another, I
Yes.
just appreciate how well this is written. It's so readable.
I know.
Thank
the other
you. Well, one, my heart is just leaping for joy because not a lot of people read it. So thank you.
You got the nerdy group.
It's the chocolate, Diane. I'm not gonna lie, but
No, I know that's the dessert for
Literally,
for doing
I feel
it.
like my job.
Uh-huh.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, some of us read it and don't understand it as well as other people. And there
You
would
still
be one
get
other
credit,
council
Joni.
member who has read it.
I also feel that credit should be given if
Yep.
you are reading it. If you're even looking at it, if you're like rubbing it.
I guess I don't have to worry it as much because I know who's behind taking care of things, but
But I would say it's very important part of your internal controls to have the council reviewing, questioning, all of that. That's extremely important because they're doing all the day to day, but to have that extra layer of oversight is very important.
we've
Okay.
seen that in the past.
Yeah.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead, Karen. Thanks, Karen.
I love that she said easy. I don't know if Scott would agree. It's a lot of work, but I honestly, I found out that Karen's retired. I'm just so sad because it has been such a delight to work with her.
Okay. Well, thank you, Richie May, for doing this, and we just really appreciate your work on this, and staff as well for making.
so that's
Smith.
you're Richie May, right?
We are Richie
Because
May.
I thought maybe your firm changed names. I'm confused. 'cause
Oh
it's
no,
Jack-
our firm is now Richie May.
Oh, it really is.
Yes.
So you've switched. Okay.
So we were Allred Jackson. This last year, we are now Richie May.
That threw me on the
So
agenda. I'm like, wait.
we have a bunch of offices all over the country. So
Awesome.
For the chocolate.
you're so
Yeah.
welcome.
Okay. Thanks
I
so
will
much.
miss that. Maybe I'll come sit with you next year and just make sure I'm here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good to see you guys. Thank you.
All right.
Do you want the leftovers of these, Diana, or do you want us to? Okay.
Okay, let's move on to consider approving an ordinance updating various North Logan City municipal codes related to nuisances and code enforcement, specifically 3-601 administrative enforcement and remedies, 10-601 appointment and duties of inspector, 11-202 definitions, 11-309 removal of snow, 11-313 discharge of water on street, and 15-518 noise, and 15-5507 penalty. You want to walk us through this, Scott?
Yeah, Alan, if you want to pull up just the bullet point summary that's in the folder, that a little bit more distilled, easier to. As we've kind of enforced, our ordinances more so over the last year and a half through the hiring of a part-time code enforcement officer, we've kind of been taking notes on areas of our code that haven't really been enforced specifically over the last couple of years. And as we've written these notes down, we've kind of compiled some adjustments to our code that we feel like will make enforcement of these topics a little bit easier, a little bit clearer. And so, as mentioned in the agenda item, there's a couple of bullet points here. The first is with regards to noticing. A notice of violation is typically given to an individual who is found to be out of compliance with the city's requirements. And it's an initial approach to say, hey, this is something that needs to be rectified, and our code enforcement officer can give them this notice and just say, hey, we'd appreciate it if you guys would take some time to correct this issue. Our code does that as a courtesy, but what we've found is it's something that we should give people a notice. But if it's a habitual violator and they violate over and over, then we're not going to keep giving courtesy notices. We'll just skip straight to the citation. So the way that this language reads now is we'll give them one notice per year on a particular violation, and if they continue to violate that same requirement, then they will be required, well, they'll be just given a citation after that point. So that's one point of clarification. Another is that we would give them at least 14 days to correct the issue. It gives the code enforcement officer the discretion to work with that property owner on what is the correct amount of time or appropriate amount of time to correct an issue depending on the scale and the scope of the violation. Some can be rectified pretty quick, like mowing your weeds. Others may take some time and some effort to correct an issue, and so our officer has some discretion there as far as the deadlines that are applied to a code violation. Okay, the other item is with regards to construction materials being stored on a piece of property. The code right now isn't as clear as it could be, where folks may have some construction materials that they have stored on site. We want it to be clear that you can do so if there is an ongoing project with a building permit on that property, and so you would naturally have materials being dropped off and stored as that construction project is ongoing. But we want to make sure it's clear that there does need to be an on-site building permit and that those materials aren't stored for longer than a 9-month duration, as would be typical with a construction project. So that's another point of clarification. The other, which is with regards to snow. As we've been ramping up our enforcement of parking on the street during the winter months, making sure our plow crews are safe and that we're able to remove snow from the streets in a timely and safe manner. Our code enforcement officer has been, using our code to enforce and write tickets, and a few things have come up for better clarification of the code in this topic. The first being that we want to make sure that snow continues to be stored on the same side of the street that it's being removed from. We don't want to be pushing it across the street, creating berms in the middle of the road. So it's clarified that it needs to stay on the same side of the street that it is on initially. And then we don't want to be plowing into the road or shoveling into the road. We want to make sure that that snow stays on private property and not being put into the right-of-way. So those are a couple of clarifications there. Water discharge, we want to make sure folks understand you're not allowed to discharge water onto the streets from private property. You're required to keep that on your property and not to overwhelm the public stormwater system. So the current code says, hey, you can't discharge onto the sidewalk, and that's not as clear as it should be. You shouldn't be discharging onto the public right-of-way or onto public property, so that's just a clarifying item. The last is with regards to our noise ordinance. We wanted to go through and provide a little more detail in the ordinance, where at the moment, there's not a decibel chart. There's not a way for us to measure and identify when you're being too loud. And so we've added some clarifying elements here to help understand how loud is too loud. Our code enforcement officer does have a decibel meter, so he can show up at a party if need be and take a decibel reading and say, hey, you're beyond what is permissible.
Is he on call?
Not necessarily. So this is still hard to
I have two
enforce,
sons that I want to decibel read.
especially in the evening, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, noise is hard to enforce, but we wanted to have a little bit more in there just so that it's more objectionable. It's not just, hey, it's too loud, and then them argue and say, hey, well, how loud can I be, kind of a deal. So those are some clarifying items we wanted to put into the code. Do you guys have any questions about what is proposed?
I don't think so. I think this is just reflective of, as Chris is out in the field, you kind of just bump up against clarifications that need to be made. So that's my sense from, speaking with Chris about various things and then just kind of looking at this bullet point summary. But
One other item that we're running into is just case in point, this is why this is so important, is because for 20 years we've been telling people snow must be stored on the same side of the street. It's gone in our newsletter, we've gone over it. When you look at the actual code, it's just vague. It says you can't do things similar to this. It needs to be very specific to say that you can't, because this does create a huge issue. It can be very dangerous to push snow across the street and what's left behind. And so that's just case in point. This is kind of clarifying things that procedurally we've done for years, but legally we should have been having that in code to back that up.
yeah.
Well, and as
Question.
we're growing, I'm sure that the need is more than it was 20 years ago.
Yeah, and as Chris is writing citations, he needs to reference the code that is being violated. And so folks will go and read the code and say, it's not as clear as you're, saying I need to abide by. So it's good. Taking these notes, improving our process, making our code clear. That's the intent here.
Okay. Any other questions from council? Then I'd entertain a motion on this.
Motion to approving this ordinance that updates the various municipal codes that are listed here in the agenda.
Okay. Motion by Buzzy,
Second.
second by Emily. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. Now we'll consider a resolution approving the tentative dates and times for the 2026 City Council and Planning Commission meeting.
Joni's abstaining from this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like, we'll meet every week.
Just a really quick thank you to Scott and Chris for updating the code regarding the code enforcement items. They worked very heavily on that. And then Scott also put this together. This is a very organized calendar that shows the tentative schedule for the year. Obviously, these aren't exact dates for everything because it can change over time. It's just a requirement to approve like a tentative schedule for the following year. But Scott's done a great job of balancing trainings, Utah League of Cities and Towns when we're out of town, other things, holidays, to come up with this calendar. It's balancing a lot of different factors that he's listed on there. But this is just the rough schedule for this coming year for meetings. I would say the one major change I would point out is that this is kind of due to how planning commission meetings are held. They want those to be as effective as possible. So they'll hold the first meeting of the month, and then as needed, as applications, land use applications, other things, kind of as workflow demands, they'll have the second meeting. But that will only be a tentative date for that second meeting as needed. And so that's just one of the changes. The only other changes are just when we have one meeting a month, and those months are listed. So April, July, October, and December.
Okay. Yeah, looks good to me. Let's see. We need to pass a resolution on this. Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve a resolution which would approve the tentative dates and times for the 2026 City Council and Planning Commission meetings.
Okay. Motion by Emily,
Second.
second by Mark. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes unanimously. Let's consider ratifying a decision to declare various library items as surplus.
Just really quickly, you're familiar, but just to share what this is about is lining up with the move, where we had to move items from the library into the elbow, and those were only the needed items. We had to go through and declare several items as surplus. The city did. Trent needed that to happen. And so we reached out via email, recognizing that we weren't going to have our meeting before this time, to approve those items. And what you're doing is you're ratifying the votes that were submitted electronically. So those votes are recorded here in this vote, and there was a positive vote from each council member regarding approving those items to be declared as surplus. And it was a long list of mainly smaller furniture items. And just so you know, we went through the process before we even got to that point of seeing in our city code, we changed this a few years ago to say other departments should be the first ones in line. So before you even declare something surplus, Trent has to reach out to all the other departments of the city to see if their departments need those public items first. So if there's a couch, if there's a table, if there's a desk, computer, he needs to reach out to the other departments to see if they have a need, if they have need. And there were several items that were in need in the other departments. And so it goes out to them, and then it comes before the city council to be declared as surplus, the items that are still remaining. So just so you know, this is a ratification of a vote that you put, that you already voted for.
Yeah.
And that's recorded in those emails.
Okay, so I would entertain a motion on this, given that we've already voted via emails. Oh, let's do this.
Ceremonial.
Ceremonial.
Get the camera out quick.
I make a motion that we declare various library items as surplus.
Second.
Okay, I need
Aye.
this.
Okay, do it again. You gotta do it again.
Oh, we'll video it. Yeah, make your motion, Joni.
I make a motion that we ratify the decision to declare various library items as surplus.
All right, motion by Joni,
Second.
second by Buzzy. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I hope you appreciate that, Joni.
So much. My husband's
All
going
right.
to appreciate that I do not go to the surplus to buy anything.
All right, let's move on to our work session items, starting with updates on water capital improvement projects.
I'll jump through these really quick. They've successfully poured the majority of we call it the snake tank, but it's the chlorine contact chamber. And I think that's just about wrapping up. The final pour will be, I think it occurred actually recently. That's the one right at the mouth of Green Canyon, just west of the treatment plant that provides the chlorine contact time to meander through there before it goes into our first reservoir. The 4 million gallon tank is the one being constructed near Buzzy's house. It is. They're doing a very good job. It's been successful up to this date, knock on wood, because they poured the floor. That was a 24-hour pour. And then they've poured a quarter of the wall. And Jordan has dates on here. The next pour will take place, it looks like this week or the next week, to pour the second quarter of those walls. And that's a 8-hour pour as well for each of those. It's a circle, so there aren't really quarters, but yes. So they do those during the day. They were able to line that up. That did not have to go overnight in a 24-hour pour. It's still a very large undertaking, but hats off to them for coordinating all of that. And then we will continue working on several of the other distribution lines to fill the tank, and that's what we're working on right now.
Okay. I'll add to, this isn't necessarily water, but roads, that I talked to Jordan today about the 12th East Road, and he said that 80% chance that they will finish and be able to do asphalt on Friday. And he said if not, then they'll do it next week. That'll be a cold asphalt application. Is that how they say it?
Kind of.
It's true.
What they'll do is they'll try and put down a couple inches of asphalt that will feel like a normal road. And then they'll come back in and add more asphalt this next year, probably take out some of the asphalt and put that in just on the bridge portion. The rest of it is fully poured. It's all been done. The problem is they have to haul it from Brigham City right now. So it comes in pretty cold by the time it arrives. It's not going to be as good of asphalt as we would normally have. So they'll do that. Yeah, they start producing it, and so then they'll just do that one last pour in December. It's very rare to even have temperatures warm enough to pour, so this is fantastic. This is a fantastic opportunity, and then we'll open up that road, and then we'll be reimbursed from the COG, which will help with that net discussion earlier about not having as much revenue as we'd anticipated. That's where that revenue comes back and reimburses us.
And you're looking at the new COG vice chair, so let me know if there are any issues. Yeah. I'm sure that'll change everything. All right, let's get updates on our civic center.
Just the only update right now is the primary thing that we're working on is Trent's wrapping up several things on his end. It's actually endless smaller things that they have to take care of in finalizing the community center area, some designs for the exterior. And we went over this at the beginning, but then just fundraising. There's just some fundraising needs that we need to take care of in the next month or two to make sure that those final items, the naming of the rooms, the donor wall, that those things are finalized. They've had several different individuals come in and donate to that wall. They have a wall that's recognized, and they'll have the Flights of Learning, which is a theme for the Friends of the Library, where they have birds, and there's different sized birds all over the wall that they'll put up, and those will be the donors that are recognized to the library. I think it'll be a fantastic opportunity. But I'll report on that, the success of each of those different discussions.
Keep putting that in the newsletters, just the updates and
Yeah, and the flyer does go out each
social
month.
media, like, thank you to these people.
Yeah. Yes, we'll have to heavily recognize everyone who's
Yeah.
generous in this regard.
All right. And then let's get our updates from our city staff. So Scott Burks.
Yeah, just one quick item. Looking at next month, we'd like to schedule a joint work session between Planning Commission and City Council to discuss, now that we've got the general plan and the code adopted and it should be codified here pretty soon, we want to have a discussion about future zoning in the city and what the city would like to do proactively versus reactively as we go forward with our new future land use map, the concepts that are contained in the general plan for future zoning and development going forward. So what we're thinking is the 8th of January, that's that first Thursday to coincide with the Planning Commission's regularly scheduled meeting. I was curious if that's a date that could work for everybody on council to join with the Planning Commission.
That would be a really good date for me.
That works for me.
Okay, we'll tentatively plan on that date. Hopefully we can get a majority of council members. And we also have a new council member at that point. So I think that'll be a good discussion where the city can be a little bit more forward-thinking and proactive now that we've got our planning policy in place. So we'll send out some more information as we get closer to that date.
Okay. Thanks, Scott. Scott Bennett. All right, Alan.
Just really quickly, the mayor's message, which you approved, you provide consent to this. So the Mayor Peterson would be the January message.
Yeah,
If
I'm
that's
on
okay.
it. Yep.
Okay, and then we would just go down. What it is, it just shifted down one to keep it simple. So just so you know, so you don't have to write the same article every year for the same month. And then the other item is just the list of upcoming events. As you go through here, again, thanks to the police force, really spearheading that Shop with the Cop. Jesse and his crew from Recreation provided used to be called the Silent Santa. That's kind of a misnomer. It's Adaptive Santa. It's for persons with disabilities, and they come into this room and they schedule a time for 10 or 15 minutes. They get to come in with Santa with their family. And they had a full house, meaning each slot was reserved during that time. So hats off to them for putting that together. Letters to Santa, there have been, I think, the letters that have come in, they're in the hundreds right now of letters that have been written to Santa. Jumping down through wreaths across America.
Can I just ask really quickly what happens with those letters?
Santa responds to each one of them.
Santa replies to each one of them.
Each one. Individually. Either way.
No, Buzzy.
This Saturday is Wreaths Across America. Everyone's invited to that. That'll be about half an hour to 40 minutes. It won't be very lengthy. We'll have a small program, though. There'll be a flag ceremony, taps. We'll have some refreshments, and then a speech from Montlucarini, a local veteran, and then they'll place the wreaths by each of the veteran. We have 66 veterans in our cemetery.
That has to be a really high percentage.
It's fairly high.
Like highest in the country.
It's the best number.
That's at 10 o'clock.
That's at 10 a.m. And just come. It'll be a great opportunity, and it'll only take about 5 or 10 minutes because Craig Humphreys has the organized map and a list of where each of the veterans are buried within our cemetery. Really well done event, and hats off to Sharp Trucking and the Wreaths Across America program for helping coordinate this. This is going to be fantastic. We've done it for years, but this is going to be a more formalized program. Christmas lighting contest. So that is ending, I think, this coming Monday. So go on and just take 1 minute and literally just nominate someone that you feel deserves of that. It has to be someone that's done it themselves, though. It can't be professionally done. And you can't nominate Dave Perks because he would win it
gonna say.
automatically. So we've just said, are you okay to not win it every year? And he said, that is fine.
Just another thing,
Say,
while
I
you bring
still
up Dave
not gonna
Perks,
compete with
he has 2 more shows left. Sunday at 6,
Sunday and then the 22nd, if I'm
22nd,
not mistaken.
and I think that's at 6 as well.
Yes. That adds a little bit of fireworks and even the display. It's all catered to the fireworks.
He
Every
says
night.
it's like a half-hour show.
It is, it is incredibly fun. Oh, I've just seen the normal one. I know my kids are very excited to see the pyrotechnics. I'll just say this, like, it is very good holiday cheer.
There,
Gone 3 times.
he was gone
Are
3
you
times.
serious?
She's not
This year?
Like, it is genuinely so fun to see.
Just in general without the pyrotechnics.
No,
And so
with
the
no pyrotechnics,
pyrotechnics,
just seeing the
will be
amount of
great.
work that person has gone into to get it all set up and everything. It's just crazy cool.
it's fantastic. And he's checked
Pop
with
some
all the
popcorn,
neighbors,
take your kids.
worked with them to make sure it's okay. I mean, it is a
He's-
very good show going all the time. So it's fantastic that he's done this for the community.
He has his like grandkids.
The other ones coming up after that, again, nominate those individuals who you feel before this weekend. Then there's holidays around the world, holiday sports sampler, New Year's at noon. Those are all just programs that Jesse and his crew puts together. The New Year's at noon is when they have the children come down to the HSC. Actually, it's at GC High, sorry, at Green Canyon High, and they come down on the 31st, and it's from 10:30 a.m. to noon, and it's for kids who can't stay up till midnight. And so they go and they play a bunch of games, have an activity, and then they count down to noon for that day. It's a really fun activity. A lot of people come to that. So, sorry, those are the upcoming events. Just
be me.
put them on your radar.
Okay, thanks, Alan. Anything from the council? Okay, Joni, it is your motion to make.
I motion that we close our meeting.
Okay, motion by
Second.
Joni. Second, was that Emily? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Final
Okay.
year.
We'll miss you. We'll miss you.
Okay,
I won't
Kenny's
hug
not
Larry.